Look, I mean, you might win. No, Larry, I know. Look at Scott Green. Scott Green is the least important person here in the trust for it. Yeah. He's never come. It's good for everybody.
Joe, how are you?
I'm doing well. How did I not know? I did not know that you have a... How long have we been doing that? Okay, well, that makes sense.
Not very long.
We haven't been here
Not very
since
long. No, you
a
haven't.
year ago now. Well, good.
Yeah,
We just had our board meeting, and well, he's on our board, but Calvin came back, and what a crew we had there. And I really, I tell Larry, I didn't know what to do. Ty, we moved in,
Oh, great.
and he's 9 houses away. I drove by today, and I stopped in and said, welcome.
Are you still at Aspen?
No, we're on Flower Up West.
Oh, okay.
And part of me wanted to say, why don't you come to see? Even though I know you're not really on the phone, but you would know.
Yeah, right?
And I just didn't want to. She was unpacking the pot.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah.
Do we her or see her?
Well, I think they had morning sessions that we could all do
Yeah.
So I think that you're off at 14.
You got to change some very contrasting.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this is right.
And by the time we got there, it was, well, I was trying to find what we went to. It was
Later in the
oh, yeah,
day.
and they had no idea what audience we were when. They just knew we were there all day.
Right.
And a host was sitting around with her.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm always on.
yeah. And I was so sad. I think it was just, yeah. Hey, Scott, how are you? Good, thanks. So we're picking up. Where's my point?
We didn't start late. And we're all happy about that. Okay, I'd like to call the June 2017 General Services Committee meeting to order. At this time, we'll open up the privilege of the floor. Hearing none, we'll move along. Any corrections, additions, deletions to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll accept those. And tonight, we have our yearly presentation from Joel Alone and his staff from from JCC, the Center of Community Studies, for the survey results. And we're going to turn this over to Joel and get started right away.
Well, thank you. And Larry Danforth is his name. Larry works with me at the center, so if you have a question that you're pretty darn sure I don't know how to answer, ask Larry and you'll get the right answer. And I don't know who to look at here other than, what is the timing that would work best for you? I don't know what you have as a further agenda or anything. We got to put those slides back in. If it's 3 hours, I've done that. Yeah, the usual. Well, we just did this presentation to our board of directors. They always get to see it first. And between JCC and here, Larry and I just cut out 7 slides. So we tried to make it a little bit shorter, not longer. So I think we were thinking of the Doldo suggestion there. Um, As always, we look forward to coming here in June, on the second Tuesday in June, and rolling out some of the results to you and bragging about our students and talking about how lucky we feel to work at the college and how thankful we are for what we get to do. So let me just give you a heads up on what the plan is for tonight. This has about 20, I'll just lie to you. There's about 20 slides, and it starts out with our names again, because I know some of you, like Mr. Ferris, have short-term memory problems. So maybe you can't remember my name. And so it starts out with a little bit about us, a little public service announcement, and a little bit about what we've done this year, and why we've done it, and how we've done it, and how to best use and not misuse our results. And then the sixth one is a little bit on what we found. And so, seriously, there are 24, is that what, there are 23, 24 slides. The last half of it is actually going to be findings, where you see some of the key things that what we did is this year in the document that I'm not sure exactly when it becomes available online. Our webmaster on campus said 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm not sure which is going to work. We don't have the authorization for us to post it online. So the full document, which we have not opened on here, right? All right. Don't mess with me now, laptop. And I'm going to open it up quickly just so you get the idea of what will be available for you. And I encourage you to dig deeper, because what you're going to see tonight from us is really more of a surface level. The key things that we think might be interesting to folks who are looking at this study that maybe have a limited amount of time. And I don't know if you can see that number right there, but it's a pretty big number. It's 112 pages long, and we are not going to take you through the 112 pages. But should you have a question that necessitates going deeper in, then we'll go deeper and we'll look at some of these crosstabs and time series and county comparisons. Every time you see that color right there, that's JCC cranberry, and that's St. Lawrence County blue, and that's Lewis County green, and there are county comparisons in there as well. So I'm just letting you know that that will be available, but when we start our slide presentation, there will be 6, and it starts out with who we are, and of course, we are the Center for Community Studies, and I'm hoping that will work right there. And we've been doing this since 1999. I think, as you all know, we have done over 150 community-based studies for various agencies throughout the North Country, predominantly Jefferson County, but not exclusively Jefferson County. And we've done, I don't know which button is the pointer. I can read that. That's what you think? All right. Is it on and off? No, it's working. Oh, it did work? Yeah. Okay. So awesome. So we use a variety of methodologies. What you're going to see tonight is actually a hybrid of some of these methodologies as we talk about what we've done with our annual survey of the community. When you, Larry, there it is, Larry on the left, me on the right, and we always need to thank the groups that support us, because every night we're in the call center and have approximately 45 students. We pay the students, we feed the students. We lease the call center. We buy the phone numbers and all of the things that are behind the scenes. The college, of course, and the county support us. Car Freshener has made a donation over 15 years ago now for an endowment fund that we use the proceeds of the endowment fund, and we haven't had to dip into the capital or the purpose of it yet. And annually we get a contribution from the Community Foundation and another one from the Development Authority to all offset the costs that are inherent in these studies that we do. So, sorry, I hit an extra button. So this year, the selection of questions that we have attacked are key 30 or so quality of life indicators that we measure every year. I don't know if any of you in here remember Dick Halpin, Dr. Richard Halpin. He was our graduation speaker last month at JCC, and he was the first director of the Center for Community Studies, and Dick just came up from Syracuse and sat in our board meeting. It was really awesome to sit there and go, Dick, do you remember when you wrote that first question? And we're still asking that same question. And when you take a look at how society has changed over the last 18 years and how it's been measured, so much of it is due to me and John Dean as the 2 creators of the Center for Community Studies. So this starts with our standard core indicators, and then these are ones that are new this year. and they are measured on behalf of the Fort Drum Regional Liaison Organization. As you know, we each year send an invitation to groups, whether it's new books, I think we had some airport questions 2 years ago, or whether it's the DPAO, last year we asked some questions, or last year we asked some for the Development Authority, and this year we asked some for the FDRLO, and we also asked some for the city leadership about Thompson Park. And then we've asked some community issues questions that we did for the first time last year, and then some other long-term ones such as biggest issues facing the nation, have you ever heard of South Dakota? We'd like to know if people have heard of us. And what I'd like you to, the goal of this slide, and that's Tyree, he was awesome. He's intercept surveying down at Bacchus Harbor last summer with the DPAO study. But we have 6 sets of questions and demographics. So that's what this study is all about. So it started with who we are, then it went to what the study is, and then why we complete it. And that's right off of our webpage. That's our goal. Our goal is to provide current and accurate opinion and behavior information about adult residents in the county to whomever could use it, would like to use it. And you know, one thing, and I promise I won't go off the deep end on this, but I'm going to give the shallow end version of it. It is so easy for folks, especially if I went back a slide and said, well, why would anybody ever ask about Fort Drum? Everybody knows. And everybody thinks the same. Well, we asked 6 questions. We asked a question about the perceived, what do you perceive as the impact of Fort Drum on medical services? That's 1. Educational opportunities around here, that's 2. Retail opportunities, that's 3. Job creation, that's 4. Overall quality of life, that's 5. And then the last one was more of a suggestion to leadership about, do you think that they should or should not get very actively involved in ensuring the long-term viability? If you don't think someone should bother to do survey research, and I guess what you're saying is the answer to all those would be the same. That's why we go out and do this, is to be able to get granular and break down and see where are the barriers. And then it gets even more fun for math geeks like Larry and I, when we start to look at the distribution of responses of men versus women, maybe boring. Old versus younger, maybe a little bit more interesting. Those with active military in their household versus not, maybe really telling there. Those who live in Bobby's constituency group versus Mr. Johnson, Jeremiah's group. What do they think? The point is, we collect the data because it gives you the opportunity to dig deeper and try to find answers to questions that you can then use to plan, to evaluate, to advocate, to educate. So we're really happy and thankful that you allow us and support us and invite us to do this each year. So it started out with who, then it went to what, and then it goes to, I just talked about why, and then probably most importantly, if you're a math geek like us, is how. And I'm going to hand it back and forth on how do we do this, because it's different this year.
Yes. So probably the highlight in this is we changed our methodology from the first 17 years. The first 17 years, everyone was contacted via a telephone interview. And for the first time in the 18 years of the study, we deviated from that. You can see that we did almost 350 via telephone. So we did 350 both landline and cell phone calls. But we actually took a group of about 12 to 13 students out to Fort Drum and did some face-to-face intercept surveying with people on Fort Drum. Now, why did we do that? Well, we realized that Fort Drum is a large portion of the population that we want to study, and in the past, trying to contact those individuals via randomly dialing telephone numbers, both cell phone and landline, is difficult. And every time we've done the study, we came up short. So what we did is we used the math to adjust it to the population targets that we're aware of, and what happens is when you make those mathematical adjustments that are mathematically proven to work, unfortunately our error increases. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to say, can we get our sample and make our sample more representative of the actual population so the math doesn't have to work as hard to correct it to target. You can see we went out and did nearly 100 face-to-face intercept method interviews on Fort Drum. And what we really did is we shored up, obviously, the military population, but in addition to that, some of the other demographics that we tend to miss the younger male demographic. Okay? They tend not to want to talk to us on the phone. Okay, whether it's they don't want to talk or they just don't pick up their phone, it's the same thing. So we were actually able to, I think for the first time in 18 years, we were closest to the actual targets in the county than we've ever been. So the math of having to fix it and what we call we weight the data to adjust the population target had to work, not that the math really works, but we had less work in moving to the target away from what we actually had from all of our samples. So we actually created a raw sample that was more demographically representative of the entire county than we've done in the previous 18 years. So what you can see is in the process, nearly 40% of our participants were cell-only individuals, which is the highest raw percentage we've ever had, which again is closer to what's actually true in the county. The other, highlight would be 35% of the telephone calls that we made were to cell phones. So of those 345, over 115 of them were actually made to somebody on the cell phone. So we're contacting those people via cell phone, which to us is a little bit shocking that people pick up the cell phone. We're always worried, are people going to pick up their cell phone opposed to a landline, and they pick up. And maybe even more remarkably, they pick up and they'll answer the question. And we find that you may have to call a couple more cell phones to get them to pick up, but once they pick up the phone, it's pretty close whether they're going to answer the questions or not to the landline. So it's not like landlines are more likely to actually do the survey than a cell phone. If they pick up, it's pretty close to them being willing to do the survey, whether it's on a cell phone or landline. So we kind of hit that part. And again, one of the things we put on these, this similar slide in the previous years is we tend to use cell phone methodology because it tends to be less susceptible to survey errors, to errors. Well, what happened when we said, well, let's go through and do some intercept methods? We have some bias in that. Well, part of the issue you have when it's a face-to-face is are people as willing to tell you the truth when they have to look you in the eye opposed to when it's over the phone. So they have that feeling of confidentiality or anonymity that isn't exactly there, but I don't have to look you in the eye and answer for some of those personal type questions. Or if I'm at the PX or outside the commissary I'm working on, and I have 20 people walk by, who do I decide that I want to try to interview? Okay. Well, what we said is get all of them. Okay. Why are we going to pick and choose who we want to interview? We'll go ahead and grab everybody. Well, we noticed that as people that are trying to do the interviews, we noticed that they were more willing to go up to people who were single and didn't have children opposed to the ones walking around with a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. Well, they already have their hands full with a 2-year-old and 3-year-old. I don't want to bother them. They have enough to deal with already. And I said, well, so when we talk to everybody out here, nobody's going to have children. Do you think that's a problem? They said, oh, that makes a good point. So it was actually reassuring for the students to realize that when you do the intercept methodology, you have to make sure that you don't let your personal biases decide who you're going to interview, and you have to interview everybody else. So we actually got an educational component to it. Okay, so again, I think probably what I would say about this slide most is Joe and I are probably most proud of our methodology that we've ever been. Every year we look to improve how we collect our sample, and this is the closest we've gotten to the population target ever. So we're actually hitting it, and the math has to work not quite as hard as it has in the past. So we've actually gotten better with our methodology. So the next part, okay, we're close to actually looking at the results. One of the things we want to make sure we talk about is when you get the results, and you see there's 112 pages worth of results, and we know it's daunting. And we've picked a couple of those things to highlight, but again, when the quote unquote becomes available, and you take a look, how do I look at these results? And the key thing is we want to make sure that once you get the results, there are ways that you can interpret the results. And what we want to do is we want to help reduce the number of errors that people make in the interpretation. Okay, so what we've done is we've really come up with, we've talked about the idea of the framing statistic. I think we've included this in 4 or 5 years worth of reports. But the idea is that every number that you see in the report can be looked at in a variety of different ways. And we're going to demonstrate that with some of the results that we have. But the 6 ways that we tend to try to analyze the results are listed right here. So you can see that as we go through some of these results. And Joel's going through the whole report, but what you can see is this is a typical page in the 112-page report. Okay, there are about 60 of these tables, 60 to 70 of these tables that are laden with number after number after number. And what we're going to do is give you some of the highlights and try to give you a better idea of how you might best interpret some of the results. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of the findings. So the first couple of findings we're going to look at is we have 21 core indicators that we look at each year. And what we typically do on a year-to-year basis is identify what are the most positively perceived and what are the most negatively perceived indicators in the county. These are the 5 most positively perceived. Okay, access to higher ed, quality, overall quality of life in the area, public housing or recreation opportunities, quality of patient flow, and quality environment. 4 of these 5 are the same as last year. So in terms of what people perceive positively, it's very similar this year compared to what we had. Okay, 2 of them dropped out from last year. Availability housing dropped out of the top 5, and policing and crime control dropped out of the top 5. The one that jumped back in was public outdoor recreational opportunities. That jumped back in the top 5. So 4 out of 5 were the same as they were last year. Probably the other thing that's interesting to note here is if you look at a couple on the end, quality of K through 12 and quality environment. What you'll notice is quality environment, those last 2 bars on the far right are much higher than they were the 3 years before. So what you can see is in those last couple of years, it jumped from the low 50s up to 70% last year, high 50s. Big change in the last few years compared to what it was previously. Now, part of the reason we think that's the case is because we have better identified and better represented the military community. And what we find is the people in the military community appreciate what they have here in terms of environment opposed to where they come from. So we're thinking that part of that big jump, at least in terms of the environment, might be that fact that we talked about. So we talked to the military representative on what they want. The negatively perceived indicators. We assess them, which is here, the region picks 7 this time. We usually try to pick the top 5. Or if you look, we had 2 that were at 17%, 1 at 18%. They were pretty close, so we kept those in there. And if you look, there are 4 of those categories that are very similar, and then 3 of them that are not. And if you look, availability of good jobs, which is the first one over there on the left, real estate taxes, which is the second one. The 4th one in the middle one is the cost of energy, and the last one is the overall state of the local economy. Okay? These tend to be in the more negatively perceived each year. But what jumps out to us is, if you look, the last bar in each group is 2017. And what you'll notice in those 4 economic type indicators, that's the smallest bar in every one of those categories. So even though there's still some of the more negatively perceived amongst the 20 indicators, the negative perception is actually decreasing a little bit each time. So if you notice that availability of good jobs, 32%, last year was 42%. 2 years ago it was 42%, 55%, 52%. So notice that 32% is a whole lot lower. So even though some of those economic indicators are there, it's not quite as negative as it was in the past year. Okay, where some of the other ones, for example, availability of care for the elderly, that stays pretty much stagnant in that 5-year period, not much happening. Okay, so even though they may be some of the more negatively perceived, the negative perception has backed off a little bit from where it was in the previous couple of years. So we're just going to highlight those in a little bit more detail, and that not just in the 5-year numbers to look at from when we first started investigating those. So you can see there that you have a line chart of the overall state of the local economy. And you notice that the poor ratings this year is 17%. And if you look at that line graph, that's the lowest it's ever been. Okay, it's the first time it's dropped below 20%. Okay, and at the same time, you can see the excellent and good. The excellent and good is a little more powerful going down the graph. That 36% is the highest that it's been in terms of excellent and good. Okay, which is an indicator that even though it is one of the more negatively perceived, it's not as negative, or it actually appears to be more positively perceived. Availability of good jobs, similar, okay? 32% poor, that's the one I picked up before. It's the lowest rate we've ever seen in 18 years. And notice the excellent or good is up to a 23, which it hasn't gone over 23 since 2007, so that's the highest in the last decade. We look at the other 2, okay? The real estate tax. And with real estate tax, the same possibility, you can really see what's happened in the last 3 years or so. Look at what's happened from 2014 to 2017. 2014, real estate taxes, about 50% of people were already at 4, now it's down to 20%. So it's dropped 20 percentage points over a 3-year period. Cost of energy, you can see how severely that's dropped down. Cost of energy has actually crossed over and see that 4 is actually a lower rating than good. It's actually more positive than a negative. We just saw that was some of those things. Some of the things that are seen a little more negatively are not seen as negatively as they have been in the last few years. After we asked about locally, okay, this is our one national question that we tend to ask from year to year to year. And we ask them open-ended. We don't give them any choices. This is our one open-ended question in the entire survey. What do you think is the largest issue facing the nation right now? And again, this one's one of the more involved. We have 6 different rounds there. What we did is just pick the top 6 most common responses. And what you'll notice is 2017 is the first time since 2009 that economy and jobs wasn't the highest rated concern. Okay, if you go back to when we first started, 2009, it's coming down to 2%. And you can see that kind of drop down, and now, instead of being the highest rated, it's actually the third highest. There are two other issues that people are identifying as a more severe issue than the economy and jobs. Government leadership's up at 26%, the highest it's been. And you can see that drugs are at 2%, and increase from last year when it was the highest it's been. If you look at drugs, for example, 2013 it was non-existent. 2014 and 15 still very, very low, and in the last 2 years that increased significantly as well. So it's interesting that the biggest concern that people see on a national level for the last 8 years is now only the third reported. The last one to look at, or the last one I'm going to look at, I'll hand that over to Joel, is we ask people to evaluate their personal financial situation. And we ask them to determine if it's gotten better, stayed the same, or gotten worse in the last 12 months. And you can kind of see that what's happened there, the 14% saying it's gotten worse is the lowest it's been since we started asking that question back in 2008. Okay, that worst percentage has dropped since 2013. Okay, not as, if you look, there's not a ton happening with the same and the better, but the worst is dropping consistently for that period of time. Okay, now, we put a couple other things in here in addition to the line graph this time, and what you'll notice is, just so you can see the idea of, in Jefferson County, 25% of people are saying it's gotten better. In St. Lawrence County, it's 24%. Lewis County was only 17%. And we have these kind of relationships for all of the questions that are asked here in the different counties. So you can say, well, 25%, let's put it in our county, how does it compare to the other two counties, so you can get an idea of frame of reference of what do people in our county think compared to what the neighboring counties think. And then we just have an example of some of the correlations across that that we included every one of those. And for example, if you look at age, okay, look at the percentage that rate it better based on the age categories. And as you notice, the better percentages decrease, and the worse percentages increase as you go along. And again, even if you look at the ratio, look at the 36% to the 9%, it's a 4-to-1 ratio of better to good amongst that younger demographic of under 30. And then you go to the 70-year-old demographic, it's about 10% to 24%. Now it's almost a 2.5 to 1 in the other direction. So you can see there's a relationship between what people are perceiving and their age.
I'm going to go back to that one. I can't resist. I'm watching the clock. We're okay for time. We cut 7 slides out with all kinds of guiding principles that we presented to our board. And one of them, Larry was referencing, was the idea of error. We talk a whole lot about error a whole lot of time. And that was, when he was talking about how we did this survey, everything we do from identifying the sample size, to writing the survey questions, to selecting the sample, to analyzing the data, to standing here and talking with you. Everything has that final word that we're thinking about error. Because there's 4 different types of error. I don't care if you're doing biomedical research on the best diabetes prevention drug, or if you're trying to look at people's personal financial situation. If you're doing research, there are 4 sources of error. Larry talked about most of them, and I'm just going to highlight them again. Sampling error. That's why sampling error is the idea of the sample we took does not represent the population we want to. If all we did is go to a local, let me think of a good example. That one, right now, let me change the area. Let's say we wanted to ask a question such as, do you think the drinking age in Jefferson County should increase to 50? I doubt if you went to Maggie and did your sample there, and that's all you did is get 441 people in Maggie, that you have any type of result that you would say is error-free. That's sampling error. Sampling error is your sample does not represent the entire population. Larry talked perfectly about the idea of we look at all the demographics in the U.S. Census says our 120,000 people are, and we try to parallel the best we can with our sampling, and we've improved. I agree with what Larry said. Sampling. The second type of error is measurement error. Measurement error is if I ask all the people in the county water tower, do you think Bobby Ferris is excellent or awesome as a legislator? And that's You know who choices? That's fantastic. I'm pretty sure his nickname was Bob Tastic. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Bob Tastic. So anyways, my point is we try to make sure that we write questions that are unbiased and give people the opportunity to say a valid response. Sampling error and measurement error. The third one Larry talked about too, and that's random error. And random error is affected by, we didn't talk to only 3 people who are under the age of 30. We talked to 75. We didn't talk to only 3 people over the age of 70. We talked to 93 of them. The bigger the sample size, the smaller the random error. And as Larry said, the closer that we parallel the population, the smaller the design effect, which produces the random error. But there's a fourth one. And the fourth one is staring at me on this screen. And so what I'm doing right now is Larry and I are wearing our professor hats. So we're going to try to teach you how not to make those errors that sometimes community members will make. Larry just showed you, and I agree with him 100%, there is a correlation. The younger you are, the young people, 36% better, 9% worse. The older folks, it basically reverses. That does not prove which one causes the other. My point I'm trying to make is correlation does not prove causation. What is necessary if you're going to have causation, it's got to be a correlation that exists, but it doesn't prove which one causes which. Because I want you to look over here, and Larry and I could not ignore year after year after year in all 3 counties. We see what Larry and I see in this. What we see is that the lower income 20% is getting better. 21, 20. Well, I'm glad it's not 30 something. This is unequivocal. There is statistically significant evidence that there is a correlation between what income level you're in and your likelihood to say that things are getting better. Let's look at the other end of the scale. Worse. 20, 17, 10, single digits. That does not prove which one causes which. But it's undeniable that there is a correlation between these 2 variables, and it has also been in St. Lawrence County, it has also been in Lewis County, and that's one of the many reasons why we keep coming back year after year. Now, if someone did want to dive in deeper and design and be able to, quote unquote, prove causation, many of you are as old as me in here, I think. And I remember back in the day when, what wasn't that word causation? It took decades of designing studies, clinical studies, randomness, controlling for confound, to try to disprove every other possible causal factor before anyone was allowed to put the word cause in there. It connected cigarette smokers and lung cancer, and it still now says may cause, could cause. So the point is, we do not stand in front of you right now and say which one we have proven causes. But it is a great first step to look at the idea of, is it your income level that potentially causes you to get better? Or is it your idea that you were things that got better that caused you to change your income level? We don't know. We can't prove that. How would we do it? Controlling for other possible compounds and digging in with more research questions, more survey questions than what we have. There was a reason why we put this on there as the example framing the statistics. It shows across time, it shows across counties, and it shows within subgroups that there are ones that are pretty darn irrefutable. So as Larry said 20 minutes ago, we're hoping that we're helping educate you on the 112 pages. If Jeremiah, right? If Jeremiah is really, I don't know anything at all about Jeremiah other than he's a great young guy. But if Jeremiah turned out that he was really inspired to learn more about what people think about zoo, we have questions that may see their own. What I would encourage Jeremiah to do, and everyone else to do, is don't just look at that table. Dig deeper. Look about changes over time. Look about comparison between counties, and look about the demographics. Because every single survey question on this, we try to ask our gender, military affiliation, age, income, whatever, education level, right? So, which is standard survey research. If you go to Siena Colleges, siena.edu/SRI, for the Siena Research Institute, take a look at polling they're doing on political races. What do? Cross-satisfy the same things that we have here. So, highlight number 3, we threw in there, yes. Highlight 1, 2, and 3 all had to do with economics. But we also threw a lot on this one because we want to encourage you to use this to support peaceful stability. I don't know which button to hit on here, so I'm going to do this. So, wrong direction. So highlight number 4 is the Fort Drum Regional Liaison Organization asked us, I mentioned this a half an hour ago, to ask 6 questions. And the key words are, let me start at the bottom. Overall quality of life, availability of education programs, medical service options, retail opportunities, job creation, and then this one is more of a mandate of every one of these is a statement people ask you to read or disagree. This is what I mentioned a half an hour ago, that I don't see that the level of agreement is exactly the same on all of this. Another way of framing the statistic is the biggest level of agreement was with that one. Let's get actively involved in ensuring the long-term viability. And, down here it is still people agree, but not as much. So, that was one that jumped out at me, and I lobbied to put it in our overall finding because I challenged you to look at every one of those things. Go to their page that looks like that, and look at every subgroup, and what you're going to find, every single demographic subgroup, that every single one of the subgroups, it's more than the majority of these. What came out loud and clear, we've never asked these questions before, it was unanimous, almost unilateral, complete support for the possibility of that impact. Again, it's easy for someone who writes a column in the newspaper and says, well, why would I ask you? You already should have known that. And my answer back would be, well, look at the variation. We didn't know which ones would be the most support demonstrated, which ones would be the least. And that's why we thought this was a great set of questions. Will we ask it next year? I don't know. But we've got at least a baseline as of now of what people's sentiments about the location of Fort Drum in the North Country is. Highlight number 5 was, again, similar to, these are questions that we asked 5 different uses of technology. Or the criteria we use for different. And I have to give Dr. Helton and Dr. Dean credit for we had that question in 2000. 18 years ago, we had that one that we asked. So we're looking for changes. The last time we asked that one, getting local news on the internet, I believe was in 2012. Getting national news on the internet, we asked in 2012. You see, we have certain questions we ask every year. We have other questions that are every other, and ones like this, but we just try to make sure that we periodically check and see how it's going to change. It'd be really easy for a person to look at that and say, well, what's the conclusion? Well, about 3/4 of the people do those. About half of the people have done those in the last 30 days. And that's pretty obvious. Everybody should know that. Why would do that? Well, when you dig down deeper, as it turns out, that one, getting local news on the internet, that one is what we found in 2011. It's not on upward trajectory. If these very stable people we found in 2011 and 2012 the access to local news on the internet. Now, no question, if the majority has done it, but it's not like it's going to improve. Likewise, getting national news on the internet. That's just about carbon copy that we found 6 years ago. Similarly, that about half of the people in 2011 said I get medical and health information online, and guess what? I didn't know that. But these two have. These two have continued to grow quite tremendously. The seeking information about local events was down to 50 in 2011, and is now gone up to 70, making online purchase. Anybody want to guess what percent says it? It's interesting to hear Dr. Helton comment about this. Because he wrote the question in 2000. And we asked people, some people are like, what is this in the year 2000? Is that creepy thing that sounds like a fax machine that's over my phone line? Anybody want to guess? This is ready. I know you want to guess if you like one of these things. What percent of the people 18 years ago in Jefferson County would have said, I've made at least one online purchase in the last 6 days? How much? 0, 25? Shocking was right about 50. Right? It was about 50% back then. And it has grown, and we can think of the remainder. Now half of that remainder is now buying online. So So the point that Larry and I saw and observed as statisticians was some are changing, some are not changing. That's what makes it fun for us. Compare it over time, to comparing different subgroups. I believe we have, are there two more or one more? What? Oh yeah, I did show that this is the one with the local news, what I was just saying, that hasn't gone to 77%, 77% now around that year. However, local events is down to 50. So that's some change, some don't change, that's why you do the research. And then our last highlight is this. We were asked by the City of Watertown and Friends of Thompson Park and the City Council to ask some questions about Thompson Park. And so what we did is, please recognize this. We did not ask, this is the first time it's been released. And as you all know, I'm sure the City Council budget has been deliberated and voted out previously. So the point is, we asked these questions, if anybody, including you folks, want to get questions on our annual survey, then what happens is it's always the second Tuesday of June to show up there. So they have to live with our time. You know, we have time to finish. So we have grades, we have graduations, we have to do the analysis. So what they did is that rather than making decisions and planning for the next 5 years for Thompson Park, based upon anecdotal at best, hearing from my constituents from what part of town at best, let's do a scientific sample. Let's get some evidence. And we did talk to 441 county residents. Now, you will see across that report that does separate out city residents and county. But it started out with, we posed with them, Sharon Addison gave it to you, 4 different possible projects for the next 5 years. And the possible answers were good or should not be good. So if you just look up here, it's pretty clear the 2 winners. The 2 leaders are improved as leaders. Now, the actual questions started by better what else is in there? Improved and increased educational exhibits, and so it's too long to just improve the exhibits. The second you can see is improve the trail. And that also said better signage, cleaning, and whatever. You can clearly see these are the 2 winners. But when we ask them as a horse race question, make a comparison. If you have to pick your top one, pretty clear what happened. That now when they have to make a choice, the absolute number 1 was improvement. The one who's going to get more, probably, Liz Worthy recently has been, what do you know his body is not on there? So what they did is they had us ask the questions similarly, but with the pool, you can see the blank. And their planning department shows that blank, that blank, that blank. So if you build a new pool with that blank, this would cost $2 million, which would increase excluding other increases, $25,000. This is really easy for people to get. It's a great idea when they don't have any idea what it's about. So we gave it a new choice. Clearly, people were more in support than opposed. 40-42%. Then we gave the refurbish choice. Refurbish, $1.5 million, $13,000. And again, people were more in support than opposed to that. At 44 versus 60, what we can see is now forced choice. You said amongst those 2, what would you prefer? You can see the one that confirmed and separated out as it was there. So, what they have is a thought too. You know, this is the way I describe it to our board. Why do people do things like this? Someone will say, why do you do that? No, not because. What we're doing is collecting a scientific sample of the turnout and then that gives them information for these things for the next 5 years to take it. Versus the 98% before. So what was the goal? My understanding is the goal of city government was, let's take a pulse of a scientific sample rather than the 3 or 4 people that see me out in the life that I lead as an elected official. Let's take a scientific sample and find out the extreme. Is there yay, way yay or way nay, and then let's get it. That was the plan, and I feel very comfortable that what's been accomplished is that. Now, will they want us to do it again next year after the quiet center is done? I have no idea. But this is what we're about at the center. As much as I'd like to say right now, anything political, our goal at the Center running for office and wanting us to do a political poll, or looking for us to do a feasibility study for your profit-making business. Those are pretty much the third one they said no to before. I can't remember. Well, basically, those are the main two ones. If there's anything else that's community-based, that's what we're about. We are about our students getting exposed to real research, our faculty having fun doing real research, and community agencies not having to pay a big price tag to get real research done. And so, there's the concept part. The only thing we have left is a little thank you and a how to get in touch with us. So I would is there anything else seriously anyone has as a question? Because it's a 112-page document is there. Father, I love this. After the rest of the whole week. You're welcome. And seriously, not being a smart aleck like that, seriously, we are very thankful and fully aware of the support that Larry and I went to Denver in November. And we went to Denver in November to speak to the nationwide math professors conference with 1,300 math professors there, and he and I presented. And what we presented about was that. What we presented about, the name of our talk was the win-win-win-win situation. And there was one guy from Villanova who came and talked with me after, but the point is we have yet to find one, and I'm pretty darn sure there is not in existence. A research institute that Dean was brilliant enough to conceptualize, Dick Halpin was brilliant enough to operationalize, and you folks and the administration of the college have been brilliant enough to continue to support. Because I can't tell you, literally it will be triple digits, the number of letters of recommendations and references that I do for KCC students each year. And it's not because, write me a letter of recommendation because I took this class on. No, it's write me a letter of recommendation because the real research experience I've been exposed to. So the students, on their behalf, I thank you for that. Because if you go to Cornell, you're not going to get involved in real research until you're a grad student. But at JCC, our freshmen and sophomores are our grad students. And so I thank you for continuing to support and what ways you do and welcome us here. And I don't think I'm ever going to retire. That's what it's going to happen for, yeah. That's what the next year's first slide is going to be, the team. You know? All right, well. Thank you. Well, thanks for that, too. And we are a team. This one's going on sabbatical next year. And he's going to be off teaching a bunch of MDs at Buffalo Med School, statistics. And so the team is going to be cut in half for a big part of next year. But he'll be replying to emails and texts, I'm sure. All right, did I think? Okay, well, thank you for having us. That definitely fit in with less of a, yeah, we have to do with right. And the only reason I want to study the stuff is because it's no.
Thanks again. Really appreciate it. We'll get into resolutions now.
First resolution this evening is adopting revised guidelines and administrative procedures in relation to the county's housing improvement program funded by the New York State Community Development Block Grant Awards.
A motion, please. Mr. Ferris. Mr. Doldo. Discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, amending the 2017 county budget in relation to the Highway Department CHIPS funding.
A motion, please. Mr. Ferris, Mr. Maxon. Discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Amending the 2017 county budget to recognize insurance recovery and allocating same in the Sheriff's Department budget.
Mr. Maxon, Mr. Dodo. Discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Recognizing New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee Police Traffic Services Program grant and amending the 2017 county budget in relation thereto.
Motion, Mr. Dodo. Mr. Ferris. Discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That's it for resolutions. Now that we have a director in the planning department, there is a report, and a quite detailed report. So thank you for supplying that. We also have weights and measures report. Also, I put on your desk the outboarding report for year-to-date end of May, and that's trending on budget. They're doing a really good job down there, and my understanding through communication with Lieutenant Spencer today is we only have one state ready there, and the state has been cooperating very on a great deal of progress has been made with state ready processing. So that lessens that impact significantly for what we have in our facility. But moreover, that there's actually an inboarding report, which we haven't seen in a long time. And year to date, for May, is over $52,000 of inboarding. Contributed a lot to the Fort Drum. But also, Lieutenant Spencer is going to do a reach out to some other surrounding counties to see. We do have some vacancies there, so just usually send that out on a quarterly basis, but I thought we'd just share some of that with you so it's not forgotten over the month.
Yeah, this inboarding report, this is something new, I'm assuming? We've never seen it before?
We don't usually get money in.
Okay, so the previous year, there wouldn't have been any in the previous year that would, or was it incorporated and knocked down into this number?
Yeah, no, we've not had, because of the overcrowding issue, inboarding opportunities probably for about 4 or 5 years. It's been a while. But there was a time
I think
when...
it's longer than that.
And it might be, but there was a time when we actually did have more folks coming in than going out.
You can make that correlation.
I was going to ask the same thing. So we've outboarded a total of $114,000 total cost, but we've taken in $52,500 in revenue. So 114 minus 52.5 compared to last year when we were just paying out $126,000.
You can make that correlation.
That makes sense. Because correlation, as I heard today, correlation is exactly causation. That's what I thought I learned. No? Okay.
So, but, you know, I think from time to time, because of classifications, we might be able to inboard somebody, but not to this extent. And so it's a good trend. Shows that the plan that we've put in place is working, and we have great cooperation with staff down there. And it's not easy to juggle all those different classifications of people and to see who's going to be on trial next, or who's going to have the less impact on the travel budget. So it's good work.
Jeremiah would also point out the number from last year that we kind of decreased from the year before would have been more than double of that. So, I mean, we're clearly, if you look at a window over the last 2 years since we now implemented the norm setup, it's a huge difference in terms of what's taking place.
And at a lower cost per inmate for the dorms. The other report is passenger statistics. We're up 8%. June should track okay, but July 5th is when we get the jet back. So,
But at this point, from January to now, we're more than 15% over last year.
Yeah.
This is 2,000 passengers. So it's measurable numbers, so we're moving in the right direction.
the good thing about the jet is that a lot of people do prefer that service, but it also gives us greater capacity, greater opportunity for fuel sales. The whole thing just trends better once we have that jet.
Yeah, I don't have any statistics on it per se, but in terms of the general aviation side, since we added an additional 1,000 seats, the general aviation has gone up measurably. We're seeing a lot of the jets on that side of it. Hopefully now, as July 5th, we'll see the jet on the
Yeah.
side. But really, the general aviation activity has increased measurably.
Yep. And that when you look at our balance sheet just strictly for the airport, the hangar rentals and using the fuel sales, I mean, and the people that are flying those jets in pretty much want a carefree, nice facility, and that's what we've been providing, so it's a good draw for us. So, anything else on that, Bobby? Okay. In other words, things seem to be trending very well when the addition of the jet should be even better for us. Anything for the department heads that we really appreciate coming to the meeting? Would you like to say anything? Great. Motion. Oh, Anthony?
I'm just curious, I know we had put the DA off last time because of an issue or whatever. Is she going to still come in and talk about the drug task force?
Well, actually, we've been in constant contact. What happened this time around, we actually were scheduling her for today. One was the presentation from Joel alone, but she's got this murder trial that she cuts her eyeballs in, so she's asked wait another month or two. So, yeah, we will have her in the near term. It's kind of working out to her schedule.
Anything else that comes before the committee? Motion to adjourn. Mr. Maxon. Mr. Parrott. All in favor, aye. Thank you.